Well, welcome everybody to Balanced Approaches to Workplace Reentry. Hello and welcome to our virtual showcase. My name is Kieran Davis. I'm the Marketing Associate with Alumni. I'm happy to see you all here and can't wait to get things started. During our showcase, I encourage the attendees to send in any questions for the panelists. To ask a question, you can click the little question mark logo in the chat down below, and it'll go into the Q&A feed. That way your question for our panelists will go to me directly. Together we can address them later on. Now, let's meet the panelists. So our first presenter is Meredith Thatcher. Meredith Thatcher is a Certified Facilities Manager, an IFMA Fellow. She describes herself as a workplace strategist and change leader who helps companies create an agile workplace and workforce. Recently, Meredith founded a new company called Agile Work Evolutions, a services-enabled software company and full advisory practice. Meredith and her team design, build, and implement workplace programs that help organizations evolve, become more agile, and in doing so, meet the needs of both the employer and the employee. Meredith is joining us today from her home in Ottawa, Canada. Welcome, Meredith.
Thank you, Kieran.
And our next presenter is Dr. Laura Hambly. Dr. Laura Hambly is an industrial organizational psychologist based in Calgary, Alberta. Laura is co-founder and president of Work Evolution, which creates innovative assessment and training for mobile remote employees, leaders, and teams. Since 2004, Laura has published extensive research on the critical success factors for effectively leading distributed teams. Laura is an experienced consultant and entrepreneur who is passionate about addressing the critical role of leadership, work styles, personality, and team dynamics as they relate to distributed work. And she looks forward to sharing how to promote the work-life wellness in today's virtual showcase. Welcome, Dr. Laura.
Thank you for having me.
And our third and final panelist is Jeff LaRocque. Jeff joined us in March, 6 days before the COVID-19 lockdown. Jeff has been working virtually ever since. He spent 20 years working for the leading international manufacturers and service providers in office fit-up, furnishings, architectural walls, and ergonomic products. Jeff also is known for his charitable work with a leading health charity and an international development organization. Jeff knows how to talk. He's a volunteer talk show host on a campus community radio here in Ottawa, giving voice to grassroots charities and emerging artists. One of those artists will perform later today. Jeff will tell you more about our musical guests later. Now, I'm going to pass things over to Wayne Murray, our co-CEO, who will be facilitating today's virtual showcase. For me, I'm going to head off to the control room to monitor your questions and comments in the chat area. So Wayne, over to you.
Thank you, Kieran. Excellent introductions for both Meredith and Dr. Laura. My job here today is mainly to keep everybody on time. So I'm going to have a few signs that I put up to tell you how much time you have actually expended in your presentation. So please don't let that bother you too much or intimidate you. Afterwards, I will be posing a few questions as they're coming in from our participants. The participants, just a reminder, I encourage you to comment and pose questions in the chat area of our platform. Please note that this is a safe place, and I ask you to be mindful about your questions and your comments. We don't want to offend anybody. So let's kick things into gear. And Meredith, you are up.
Great, thank you, Wayne. Kieran, you're going to pull up the PowerPoint, please. And there we go. It's lovely having someone in the control room, isn't it? So as Kieran said, I co-founded Agile Work Evolutions just over a year ago. And who knew that within our first year of business, we'd hit a pandemic? None of us guessed this. Next slide, please, Kieran. And what's been really interesting is to see how the idea of agile work, well, it's not a new idea. It's been dramatically accelerated by the pandemic. And the question we get every day is, how do employees work today? How are they coping at home? How are they coping coming back to the office and reentry? But how do they want to work? And so the software that we developed, which we had developed previous to the pandemic, has been ideal because it helps us connect reentry with both creating a resilient long-term workforce. Next slide, please. So what we do with the software is the employees are each given each take it's about a 5 to 7 minute survey, and they're presented with a profile, one of 4 profiles. And so we've identified the 4 profiles as resident ritual. So this is someone who typically likes to come to the office. They either have an assigned seat or they go to the same desk every day. We also have the resident rovers, and these individuals are the individuals that are prefer to come to the office for some period of time, and but are very comfortable moving around and working in different spaces. And then the mobile maverick, which is me, or it was me at least before the pandemic, is an individual who can work in a variety of locations. They're very comfortable with technology and staying connected and very focused on outcomes. And then the last profile, distributed domicile, which most of us in the world have been living. Some of us, we really like it. Some of us not so much, is really spending more time working from home. But it requires self-discipline, a comfort with isolation. And as we all know, isolation has taken on a very different meaning, and the ability to stay connected and be quite technologically savvy. And so this is what the employee gets. And then what's presented, next slide, please, Karen, is 3 dashboards to the organization or the employer. And the 3 dashboards are the organization profile, the impact areas, and the scenario planning. So we'll cover the organizational profile. So in this one, we get to see how our employees profile across the organization through the 4 profiles: resident ritual, resident rover, mobile maverick, or distributed domicile. You also get to see how does it break down by demographic, by department, and by location. The other part of it is how much information and training are employees looking for about being a good mobile worker or leading a distributed team, as well as how many people actually have some kind of formal agreement. So it gives an idea of level of effort and work that's still to come, shall we say. But the one that I find most interesting is the workplace time distribution, where we ask employees, how many days were you working at the office pre-COVID? How many days would you like to going forward? How many days at home were you working, and how many days would you like? And as many have probably seen through much of the surveys that have been out there, we are seeing a massive shift to people wanting to have substantially more time at home. Will that be sustained in the future once there's a vaccine and a solution? We don't know, but our focus is about creating a resilient organization that is able to respond to anything that the future throws at them. Next slide, please. So the impact areas, this is where we really start to focus on the triple bottom line. So based on the information that we've gathered and the algorithms built into the software, we are able to show what's possible if people were enabled through the profiles, and we would consider what they identify as their preferences and permission those. So, for example, we can see how many seats might be liberated. So in other words, I don't need to buy or accommodate individual seating in either offices or workstations for individuals. I can see how many seats could be liberated. I can see what that translates into in terms of space saved, but as well as my economic savings. And not only economic savings for the organization in terms of annual real estate savings, but also employee commute savings. From a productivity impact point of view, and I'm sure many people have realized the productivity gains just by not commuting to work, how much time we are saving. And this is one of the things that we're hearing from staffs that, even those who are saying, I'd like to get back in the office, but I just don't want to deal with the commute. So we can really not only take those hours, but translate all of that information into the economic impact. So you can imagine on a community-wide basis, if you ran this survey for every organization, the huge opportunities we would have in reducing emissions, getting cars off the road, and reducing building emissions as well. Next slide, please. And so while those first two dashboards are static, as the people answer, as you close out the survey, this last dashboard is interactive and dynamic. So I can look at my population scale. How many people am I either growing or shrinking by? How many I might prove to be a remote worker, how I might want to allocate them. So am I going to take them out of their assigned offices and cubicles and put them in shared desks with a different ratio? And as I make every one of those adjustments, all of my impacts, as you see in the bottom of the screen, all of those impacts calculate and recalculate. So for example, if there is a desire to save $1 million in rent, I can look at all the different ways that I can do that. Next slide, please. So the software itself, when we get the results, in the end, not only do we have the dashboards, but there's an entire Excel file that is provided with the answer from every employee on every question that allows us to dive deeper into the business analytics. But you can start to see all of the various questions we can answer. So for example, are staff fully enabled to work remotely? In a review with a client yesterday, we realized how many staff were not fully enabled still this many months into the pandemic. So there's lots of really valuable information, not only for now. So for example, I have one client where 60% of the staff get to work by bus. So you can imagine the level of anxiety when we start talking reentry, what that could bring to an organization. But it also helps us from the long term if we know what their requirements are, what kind of collaboration they need, how many days they want to be in the office, to start to talk about how much space we might need. Next slide, please. So what problem does it solve today? It is the singular solution that helps organizations become resilient through the workforce profiling, and that enables and truly supports sustainable remote work programs. Next slide, please. So, and we're really, really thrilled. Some of you may have seen this announcement. The City of Ottawa, through the Innovation Pilot Program, went out in May looking for firms to help drive revenue through sort of a COVID recovery. And we were selected as one of 5 firms, one of 3 in Ottawa, actually. To actually use our software and run a pilot for the City of Ottawa to help them understand how they can help in their own workforce transformation and creating a more mobile, agile, and resilient city. And so it's a great opportunity for both the city as well as us to test the software and the ideas and the messaging. Next slide, please. So our virtual methodology, so one of the big things is we don't abandon you once you've been through the software, that we have a significant roster of consultants who are workplace strategists, they're change management specialists, they're an organizational psychologist, Dr. Laura Hambley, who's the next speaker. She and I have worked together on a number of mandates. But what's important here is that we have the leadership team aligned, that the employees are consulted, so both have a voice in the process, that we're making evidence-based decisions. The last 3 or 4 months we've seen people making emergency, often gut-based decisions, and this allows people to slow down. Let's look at the evidence, let's get worker insight before we start making significant decisions that affect us in the very long term. Next slide, please. So why now? Why is it important? Well, it helps us prepare for the new normal, whether you like the term new normal or not. Not everybody does. And I said, it's not necessarily a new normal. It's just an acceleration of where we were going. The abnormal is doing it in a pandemic. But it is a scenario planning tool to really help you evaluate suitable options as people are looking at, do we shed real estate? What kinds, how many people are we coming back to the office? How do we support them in terms of understanding how to keep them safe? It enables us to be compliant with Bill C-63, which is the right to request for flex work for anybody who's under the National Labor Code here in Canada, and obviously evidence-based decision making. Next slide, please. So you can't do all of the workplace and workforce without looking at culture and change management. We have the majority of the people that we work with are pro-sci change management trained, that we do understand how do you work with current culture, how do you shift a culture when you go virtual, as well as dealing with subcultures. Really being able to flag areas of resistance and helping people through that. And no matter what we do, this is not a one-size-fits-all solution for any organization. Next slide, please. And as I said, Lisa Chillingworth-Watson and myself started the company about just over a year and a half ago. And we've seen some significant opportunity and benefits where we are connecting not only the long term, but with the re-entry. Thank you.
Thank you, Meredith. That was fantastic. And you have 30 seconds to spare, so that's 30 seconds that you can use to answer questions at the end of at the end of all the presentations. So, well done. We're now going to turn over to Dr. Laura, who's going to present her topic.
Thank you so much, Wayne. And I plan to use those 30 seconds. Just kidding. I have my handy timer here. There we go, to keep me on track. So if I could have my deck, please. Thank you so much. So today I'm going to talk about work-life wellness of employees and leaders as being a key part of this whole re-entry into the new workplace. Next slide, please. So we're a team of organizational psychologists based here in Calgary. I'm in my office. We also run a counseling psychology practice out of here, which opened again physically on June 1st, but of course a lot of our work is still remote. But I like to come in here 3 days a week. So I'm a 2-3 day split type of hybrid worker, which I'm going to talk about in a little bit. But it's all about the human piece of this. There's so much humanity going into these decisions. And I've been at this for 16 years. Of researching, writing, speaking, and I'm so passionate about doing this right. And now that everyone is talking about it, I feel that we really need to share what's most important from the leadership perspective, especially. So let's move to the next slide. So what are the opportunities of these new ways of working, we're going to call them? Well, satisfaction and engagement of your people. If you have the right methods in place to help people have a voice in terms of when and where they work. If you take away their choice and you take away their voice, you are going to impact their satisfaction and engagement, no doubt. Work-life wellness is also a huge opportunity here. It's also a challenge to do it right. So I'm going to speak in this session about work-life wellness in particular, but let's not forget focus and performance are benefits. As Meredith alluded to, we know that performance is higher for a lot of people, not everyone when they're working remotely. But I would say that at a certain point, it can also lead to burnout if you're working too long hours and you don't have the right boundaries between work and life. So on my next slide, I'm going to talk a bit about these impacts to work-life wellness. Specifically, we call it spillover and crossover effects. And that's when effects of work and working too much and the stressful nature of work and maybe fear about losing our job and tight resources, all of those things can be felt at home. We're feeling them after our working hours and they're causing us stress. There's also the competition for energy when we constantly feel a conflict between, I feel like I'm not doing work well and I'm not doing life well. And through the COVID crisis, we've been hearing a ton of that from our clients in terms of now my kids are at home, I'm trying to be a good father and mother, and I'm also trying to get my work done. It's a terribly stressful time for people. And my big worry is about the mental health fallout of the COVID crisis. That's where I've been focusing a lot of my efforts and speaking about, because this competition for energy can very much deplete people. And then the susceptibility to burnout. So we can give people freedom to work when and where they want, but what we find, especially with a lot of high achievers and high performers, is that they're working all the time, that they're never unplugged from their device, and that they're feeling that susceptibility, because human beings, after all, are not computers. We don't leave them plugged in. They're rechargeable batteries. So they're like my phone, which seems to be constantly dying, but it needs to be plugged in. It needs its time to recharge, just like our human body and our brain does. And if we don't give enough of that, we are going to burn out. Next slide, please. So I'm just going to ask you, what's the top concern that you've heard raised about work-life wellness in discussing the re-entry into the new work? Are people worried about contracting COVID-19? Are they worried about their ability, or are they worried that remote work is going to be taken away, so they'll be forced to come back in full time? Are they concerned about balancing childcare with work, especially with the nature of schools may close and open and those sorts of things? Or are they feeling they're never unplugged and they're working more than ever? So if you could tell us what your top is that you've heard or that you yourself are worried about, either angle is okay. We'll just give you maybe 5 more seconds. Since it's our first one, you might be figuring out this polling. So a few more seconds.
Yeah, and just a pointer too, you click on the radio button for the appropriate answer, but just scroll down and you have to hit submit.
There you go. Your submission is important to us. So yes, I would love to hear what you have to say here. What are the biggest worries out there for humans? So let's hear, if you could generate this. Did most people answer? Let's see. Okay, so 54% voted. Maybe next time we can get a few more voting. But if I scroll down here, I see that the 29%, the biggest percent, are worried about contracting COVID. So interesting there, and no surprise. But look at this. We also have 14%, 9%, and 6% all over here. So this is a significant amount. Like, I think, I don't have time on the math, but I think it matches or exceeds the 29 here. There's a concern about the ability to work remotely being taken away, balancing childcare and work, and the feeling of never being unplugged, 6%. So there's these other very real issues that we can't forget. We can't focus all of our efforts on physical distancing and hand sanitizer. We need to be really, really aware of these other 3. So let's go to the next slide, please. So what we have here is, what we do is we address 3 critical groups and organizations. Thank you. Leaders, individual contributors, and teams. But I always have to say, you have to start with making sure the leaders are modeling this and doing a good job of leadership. So on my next slide, what you'll see is we developed a psychometric assessment around this because strong leadership is key to employee well-being. And when you look at leadership in general, you need all the skills of a face-to-face leader, but you need additional skills in order to do so well when you're at a distance. And I've dedicated my career to this. There's no doubt in my mind that it is more work and it is more challenge to lead remotely, but the benefits are wonderful. What worries me is that 50% of people have left a job because of a bad leader, and also 77% of people have indicated physical symptoms of stress at some point in their career because of a bad leader. And I'm sure a lot of you are saying, yes, I've been through that. Thank goodness I'm out of that situation. But we need to really do a better job at making sure leaders are doing what they're paid for, which is leading people to be effective and engaged and healthy and all those good things. So let's go to the next slide. So when we assess a leader in our psychometric assessment, the leader does an online series of questions, and then we get a report. So when we're reviewing the report, as you can see on the next page, we go through all these different areas of capabilities, which are evidence-based. And you'll see there's 4 different buckets, and I'm not going to get into all of those, but you'll see achieving work-life balance is one of them. So we're actually able to predict a leader's likelihood of doing that for themselves and also promoting it in their team, which are equally important. It's almost the analogy of a gas mask. Put on yours first. So let's go to the next slide and see this leader's actual results. You can see this leader is having more problems with his own work-life balance than that promoting it in his team. We have a really deep discussion about that, right? You got to take care of your own wellness before doing a good job with others on it. So you got to practice what you preach here. So let's go to the next slide. We always give development advice to leaders. We do coaching training with them. Next slide, please. And we also look at the individual contributors in terms of, after doing Meredith's fantastic tool, we know about the preferences of the person. We know about how they're wired. So this is the first personality profile in the world around fit with remote work. So it gives people really good information on the extent to which they ideally fit personality-wise from working remotely and the ideal blend between home and office and what they can do to do so better, work remotely better. And all of our research shows that the majority of people fit best with a 2-3 day split, 2 days at home or 3 days at home, and the rest of the time in the office. And that's how I feel the new workplace will look in many cases in the future, if I were to predict. The next slide here is about work-life wellness. I'm going to get you to flip once more. I just wanted to show that nice little image. Work-life wellness is about maintaining work-life wellness where work and life positively enrich each other. So your work positively enriches the rest of your life. It doesn't cause stress after hours all the time, and that your life enriches your work. Everything is flowing well together. The next slide is the opposite of work-life wellness, which is work-life interference. It's the conflict with work and life, and the time and energy are feeling like a trade-off, and everything's becoming a drain, and you're not doing anything well. We are hearing a lot of this going on through COVID, and we need to be addressing it because of that mental health crisis I was telling you about. So I'm 10 minutes in, we'll go to the next slide. So if you're hearing any symptoms, either in yourself, in the leaders in your organization, or in the people, when you hear these sorts of symptoms and expressions, loss of enthusiasm, they're feeling cynical, they're feeling ineffective, maybe someone who used to seem like a high performer isn't really interested anymore, those tend to be signs of burnout when work-life interference is going too heavy. So we'll go to the next slide here. Oh, there you go. Thank you. A quick polling question in the last minute. So you can start the polling question. Which of the following is the biggest challenge you feel? And you may feel all of these 3 challenges, but our leaders are not really trained in how to manage from a distance. They've just been thrown into this with no training. Or we have a culture that really doesn't focus on emotional and mental well-being. We avoid that topic. Or our senior leadership seems to be pressuring us to go back to exactly the way it was. Everybody come back into the office June 1st, for example, which I'm hearing cases of in Calgary of that happening. So let's hear your answers in a couple of seconds here.
Don't forget to hit the submit button down below, so scroll down.
Perfect. Let's see if we can get a higher percent than last time even. All right. We'll generate it just because of time. All right, here we go. Let's see the results here. Okay, good. We got a good portion of you. Interesting. So, 32% saying the leaders are not trained, and that's squarely in the wheelhouse of what we've been had a lot of demand lately to really focus on for organizations. And then the second winner is the pushback to everybody go back to the way it was. It's black and white thinking. I think the answer is somewhere in the middle. I don't think it's putting people into boxes. It needs to be a hybrid solution. So let's go to the next slide, please. Let's see. So again, leaders, teams, and individual contributors, and then we do a lot of training around these topics: blurred boundaries, work-life balance, developing trust, because trust is at the heart of a lot of this, and hopefully in the Q&A we can talk more about trust. And with that said, my final slide is if any organization wants to try out any of our assessments or talk about them, we're definitely open to a demo, and contact me at that information. Everybody stay well, and we look forward to the Q&A.
You actually did use those 30 seconds, Dr. Laura. Well done. So yeah, so we're well on time. Now our next presenter is Jeff Larock, and Jeff is going to get into some of the technical solutions that we have for the issues that we're facing today.
Hi, everyone. Thanks, Dr. Laura. And, you know, between Meredith and Dr. Laura and our event in June, we've now presented information, helpful information to over 100 people. So I want to thank everyone for being here today. Now, I'm not Alan Davis, but it's not allowing me to change my name. It's what is appearing at on my screen anyway. So yeah, thank you. And as Karen mentioned in the introduction, my name's Jeff, and I work in community radio. I've been 20 years in office interiors and fit up, and also more recently in international development and charitable organizations. And everywhere I've gone, people, the planet, very important elements, and that's what I liked about Illumini. That's why I decided to join them. I didn't realize I was only going to be in the office 6 days before I would have to work from home, but we've all been safely working from home. And if everybody can hear me okay, I'm going to carry on and talk to you about our platform. It's great day to be doing this. We've got some exciting announcements, but at the core of what we do and everything we do is our concern for the environment. We want to help you with cost savings, and we are definitely wanting to make a contribution towards everyone's health and well-being. So Kieran, next slide, please. So this is without a doubt the most important part of any organization anywhere I've been. It's been the people. It's always the people. And you know, the thing about offices and gatherings, we certainly can't gather like you're seeing in the image right now, but everyone knows that there's multiple generations working in the office, and everyone's needs are different. Everyone's doing different things. Everyone has different expectations, and a big source of frustration for many individuals has been lighting and how it's working for them. And it's also an area where we felt we wanted to get involved in because we saw an opportunity to save organizations money and to also have a positive effect on the planet because of our solution. And so let's go to the next slide. So we are going to be, originally when Illumini launched, we were a smart lighting company with smart technology. And the big message that we had to bring to the marketplace, and it still is a huge message, is that we are going to be able to save individuals up to 90% on their energy costs of running office lighting. And the real plus here is that we also have data analytics, because all of our lights and our individual light fixtures are connected to a module, giving you unbelievable amount of control and fine-tuning, so that if you have an area of daycare that you want to bring the lights down so the kids can have a nap when it's safe, you know, when it's safe to do so, everyone's ready, we can do that. And you can't do that with traditional lighting platforms without doing a lot of extra scheduling and monitoring. So it's a great offering, and that's what we started with, and that's what Illumini is founded on. But we have had some opportunities that have come our way because of our technology that's in the back of all this. Let's go to the next slide. So we are indeed a smart lighting and technology company. We provide our solutions over both Ethernet through Power over Ethernet, and there's a Wi-Fi option available. And the main thing is that we all want control. And I would love to have control to change my name, but I don't have that right now. And but that's okay. And my time is still running. So this, there's a lot of benefits to what we have available from Illumini as a result of what has been happening with our research team. And my name is one of those individuals who's been very important in the development of Illumini. So as Alan Davis, on behalf of, I say welcome to the event. Let's go to the next slide. So with our product, you're not only getting lighting, you're getting data analytics coming right to an app. This can be on your phone, on your tablet. It can be at your workstation if you are at the office. But you know what? If you happen to want to be at the cottage or at home, you can see what's happening at all times in your office. Everything from how much energy is being used, how many people are there, what kind of activity is going on, what's the light temperature, if you want to bring up the lights, if you want to bring them down. These are all things that you can do with our product through an app that is very, very handy and very simple. And when we do our demos, we have been doing virtual demos safely since COVID started. And this is the one area that people get quite thrilled by when they see how easy it is to make a little adjustment to the lighting. And if you've ever spent any time in Ottawa, that's where I am speaking to now in January, 4 o'clock, it's getting dark. Remember that, it happens every year, and everyone's got to get down in the dumps a little bit. Well, you can set things up to liven up the office and change and go to a cooler light and so on, all with your app. Let's go to the next slide. As an administrator, if you can go even further, your app gives you even more detailed information. So here's an example that you can drill right down on your floor plate to a specific spot in your office and see what's happening. And you'll notice it's tracking things like temperature, humidity, air pressure. It's monitoring CO2, VOCs, and here's temperature readings right down to 1/100 of a degree Celsius. And it's and you can see what's happening. And these are all fed into your building automation system. All this data helps make your office environment just more pleasing, more energy efficient, and just better for everyone. Next slide, please. So I mentioned a few of the controls already, and this is not the most attractive photo, but it's a very important photo because this is the lab at Carleton University where they have done extensive testing, and we have a white paper that's available on request proving a lot of the cost savings claims that we are making today. It's all been backed up with a white paper, and either Wayne, myself, anybody on our team can send it to you on request. The other things that come with your smart lighting system through the control module and through the sensors is occupancy and vacancy sensors. So even sound. So no more like waving your arms in the air like I'm still here, don't turn the lights out. I'm still working, and it's okay. They'll know. Daylight harvesting is really cool because if you have lots of sunshine coming in on the south side of the building, let's say, for example, it'll turn lights off because the lux levels that you've preset as a facilities manager are being met by the sun. So why have lights on when you can use what nature's giving us? Grouping and scheduling easily changed with your app. We'll show you that in a live demo. We're happy to do that. Control of things like temperature and monitoring power usage. And we already talked about circadian rhythms and seasonal affective disorder. I don't know if Dr. Laura is going to agree with me, but this is a major area. You can nod, you can give, and it's a real thing, and it can be helped with light, for sure, and you can do that with our system. And if you're working with, and most people are, a building automated system, an integrated BAS system, we are open source, so all of this data is going to work with whatever you're working with. We have lots more. Let's go to the next slide. So I talked about energy savings. That's what we started off. That was the out the gate, Jeff, go, right? And because we're going to save people money, and it's true. Here's the document. It's finished and published in November 2019 from Carleton University, right here in the nation's capital, and it confirmed after over 40 different scenarios, savings anywhere from 61 to 91% can be had with our Illumini high-resolution cubicle control system. And so if you're running a 100,000 square foot facility, that's going to translate immediately into savings of over $60,000. Based on Ottawa hydro rates by within a year. And the nice benefit is for the planet, you're producing 37 fewer metric tons of CO2. That's going to be a great, your employees are going to love hearing this. It's going to be a great story, and it only gets better. It really only gets better. But it's let's go to the next slide. It's 2020, and a lot of offices, essential workers, yes, thank you so much for everything you're doing. You have never left the office. You probably would love to have some time away, but you're working triple time, and thank you so much for that. There's a lot of offices, though, that are still empty, and we have to come up with a way that for organizations that want to help them reopen safely, and that's what today is all about. Balanced approaches to safe workplace reentry. And those parking lots are going to start seeing cars. We're already hearing stories. Meredith and Dr. Laura have already shared examples of companies that are trying to make this happen, but they need the information, and we're so happy to provide it. Let's go to the next slide. So what we realized, and we're all dealing with the same thing. It's like, is your team ready for office reentry? I mean, we've all made a nice little cocoon here. We've got the house the way we want it. We got our snacks that we want. We're good. And I don't know if I want to go back because I'm good, And what about that close talker guy? I don't know if I want to be there at the same time as that person. And definitely not touching that elevator buttons for sure. Not, well, that's where the 10-foot pole might be something we could sell. Wayne, think about that. Next item. Next slide, sorry. So I'm a fan of, I watch a lot of TV, I'm sorry. But no apologies, because great shows, Monty Python, and of course, some of you might recognize The Office. Many people in the room have put together a task force to help try to come up with a safe office strategy. And it's not easy. I mean, one plan's not going to suit everyone, and the people on the team might all be coming together with very different ideas on how to get things done. This was just intended to be a little diversion. Let's go on to the next one. So, but the reality is, it is a tough job, and it's a very important job, and we understand. I mean, we're dealing with our own team. So I wanted to share an example of where Illumini can help. All right. So what we've got is we've got a floor plate, and it's got 19 meeting rooms. Okay. And the person shown in the photograph, she's looking very confident because she is using Illumini sensor package and data analytics to monitor what's happening. She's on the 5th floor with the facilities team. These meeting rooms are all up on the top floor, about 10 floors away. It's not really easy for her to get there, and sometimes she doesn't get there at all in a day. But now that she's got the sensors in place, let's go to the next slide. She's knowing what's happening around the office, how much activity is taking place. We're tracking occupancy. We're following patterns. We're monitoring the indoor air quality I already mentioned 24/7, and they're getting real-time dashboard reports of significant data on important things like HO2, CO2, VOCs. It also provides information on intrusion alerts, hotspot detection, and so on. It's amazing what our sensors are picking up. Now, for privacy reasons, we're not able to identify specific individuals, but we're seeing patterns, and it's patterns that we can react to with our plan. Let's go to the next slide. So considering the cleaning alone, COVID cleaning, I've been hearing rumors that there's going to be added costs. A lot of people will already have a cleaning contract in place, and it's been sitting there waiting for everyone to come back. The fact is, we spoke with a national provider for office cleaning, and COVID-specific cleaning, targeted cleaning, is going to cost you more, potentially $2 a square foot more for that task. It needs to be done with 2 people with specialized PPE, specialized equipment, and the minimum to walk in the door to do a COVID cleaning, according to this service provider, is $600 just to show up and do a job. So if your Illumini sensors are telling you that, of those 19 meeting rooms, the ones with the red dots are the only ones that were actually occupied today, you don't have to do COVID cleaning on those other rooms. Imagine the savings in one day of having real information. And in this particular instance, it's going to amount to about $6,000 in one day from your sensors and from real information. It's not guesswork. It's not like going to Jim and say, Jim, did you go? Did you use the meeting? You booked it. Were you there? Oh, yeah. No, maybe. I can't remember. Which room? Go on, next slide. That's Jim, Jim. All the Jims out there, apologize. My brother, Jim, hi, you're good. Indoor air. No, this is not just a COVID-specific solution that we're talking about at Illumini. Indoor air has been and will continue to be a trigger for millions of hours of lost days through sickness and lost productivity. And so because you're investing in a system that's going to give you real information 24/7 on everything, including CO2, VOCs, and so on, this is going to help give you the information you need to go to facilities and demand improvements to make your space healthier for everyone, not only pre and re-entry strategy-wise, but ongoing long-term. Next slide. So mark the time, it's 2:44, it's July 30th. This is a huge announcement. I'm so excited to share this with you on behalf of Illumini. I can't believe I got the opportunity to do this. Maybe you've read about it, UVC active disinfection. UVC is well documented as a system proven to break down DNA bonds of any virus or bacteria. We now have this available from Illumini. I told someone I would make this announcement at 2:41 2 days ago. I'm pretty close. It's really excited. I've been thinking about sharing this information with you for quite a while now. Because we can schedule when the UVC lights come on, your activation occurs when you want it to, providing regular sanitized reactions. Because of concerns potentially for someone being where they shouldn't be, let's say we run it at 2 a.m., but a cleaner has decided to come back and do something they forgot to do. If the sensor detects someone's in the space, it disarms and stops the UVC disinfection active process. Amazing. Thanks to the team at Illumini, this is going to be an incredible, addition to the lineup and a chance to make everyone reassured and comfortable that there is a lot of things working in their behalf. Next slide. We want to hear from you. We want to do some more demos. I want to do lots of demos. That's how you're going to learn all the other stuff I couldn't cover today. It's been really, it's hard. I love to talk. I could keep going, but I know my time's almost up. You can get in with us a little bit, and you can get in a lot. And that's all I can say about this slide. But if you start with a little bit, we can upgrade system as you see the results, and as we will prove ourselves worthwhile of being in your facility and part of your team. Just get a hold of us. Next slide. Thank you. And to book a demo, you can go there right now, illumini.com. Jeff LaRock, aka Alan Davis. Wayne, thank you for my time.
Thank you very much, Jeff. Very, very informative. Now I'm at the point now that I have a few questions that I've received from the audience. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pose those questions to the appropriate presenter. Obviously, I'm not going to give a Jeff question to a Dr. Laura question. So let's start with Meredith, and please, if you could keep your answers to less than a minute, because we want to have some time to listen to our musical guests at the end. Meredith, first question is, how long does it take to do all of the assessment in a business with your tool? Typically, I think it was the word was typically.
We're great. That's a great question, Wayne. So typically the process, we've done it up to about 7,000 employees, and we can do it in about 20 days. From the time we start, get the communication going, make sure that we have the right information loaded, and then launch the software, we can get it going in about 20 days. We're finding through the pandemic, we're able to shorten that timeline because the employees' eagerness to respond. We launched one a couple of weeks ago to a group of about 400, and we had an 89% response rate before the end of the first day. So they're very eager, and then there's a little bit of analytics that we go through as well. Jeff, we have our own business analytics, so we have some analytics work that happens in the back end before we do the presentation.
Excellent, thank you, Meredith. Next question is for Dr. Laura. This one is somebody speaking from personal experience, saying, I'm a workaholic and the pandemic is killing me. Can you suggest a few quick strategies to manage my home and work time?
Oh dear. Okay, so that's, I mean, first of all, I guess half the battle is identifying that you are a workaholic, and many of us high achievers have that tendency, and it can actually become a form of addiction, right? You just crave more and more success through work, and then you're working more and more. And I think the first step is awareness of it, and the second step is to set up parameters and boundaries around your work hours and your life hours, and to really examine what your key values are and what's important in your life, and why you need to make space for those certain, we call them bigger rocks, right? You're letting a lot of work things get in the way of your bigger important life values. So I always recommend working with a coach or a career psychologist or a psychologist. That obviously I'm biased towards that, but I think it really can make a huge difference if you're getting stuck in that pattern of over and over again. But good for you to self-identify it. And a lot of people, you're not alone. A lot of people are working more than ever, and they're being run by kind of fear, right? Also, we're scared because we don't know what the future will bring, and we want to outperform ourselves. But the problem is, if you keep going at this rate, you won't outperform yourself. You'll have physical impacts on your brain or your body.
Like burnout, like you said. Yeah. Great, thank you, Dr. Laura. Next question to Jeff. Has Illumini considered manufacturing ultraviolet C fixtures to work with the sensors and the control platform?
I'm going to say yes, and I want to have Wayne, who's more on the production side of things, potentially answer that. Can I defer? Can I phone a friend? Wayne.
You can defer to a friend if you like. So yes, the answer is yes. We have considered manufacturing a UV light. We have looked all over the internet, and we as far as LEDs and for UVC capability, we find it's probably best that we were going to build our own. And in fact, we're going to have one a prototype ready very soon.
Thank you, Wayne.
Okay, rotating through. Meredith, I have another question for you. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
It looks like you're ready. Okay.
Meredith's always ready.
The question is, okay, after your assessment, what happens if you determine that I am not the type of worker that I thought I was? Meaning, I think what they mean there is, I prefer to work from home, but they're telling me that I have to work at the office.
Well, so there's a couple of different things that happen. So the survey itself is intended to focus on preference and not permission. So it's not intended to say to the employees, here's your profile, and see you later. Take your laptop home and we'll see you later. It's really intended to start a conversation. And so typically what happens is it's now a conversation with your immediate supervisor as to what are the challenges. It may be that you are tethered by technology or paperwork. We had a case recently where 50% of the employees said they needed more technology training, but it turned out that 90% of those are the ones who say they are tethered by technology or hard copy paper. So it was really interesting to be able to show to the client that yes, they want training, and because they aren't getting it or they don't understand how to use it, they feel like they have to come to the office. And during the pandemic, that's a challenge, right? Because the office is going to continue to be a risk.
Great. Thank you, Meredith. Okay, Dr. Laura, I got a really good question here for you. I don't think it's too tough, but again, they're looking for advice. What is the single best bit of advice you would give to managers and frontline individuals supporting team-based employees to continue the momentum while working remotely? It is a challenge when the team-based work requires so much trust, even intimacy, if done properly.
Okay, so I think, momentum, I'm guessing you're defining momentum as performing and getting a lot of work done. And also, I'm guessing that it's important that these teams remain engaged as well, and they want to be part of the teams. And I always say it's very, very important, first and foremost, to make sure that levels of trust are high in the team. And if they're not high, that has to be dealt with first, because we're seeing record levels of distrust between people, and it's a real concern, especially when, again, there's the fear of scarcity and the fear of more layoffs and all of that. But you need to really understand how the team is functioning. So what we've done with a lot of teams is the diagnostic that we have, where we can assess how well is the team functioning and where are their pain points. And then in order to get momentum going, how can we set team action goals that'll help this team be higher performing? So it's like going to a doctor, right? You need to get a diagnosis of what's going on, and we like to get to the bottom of it if we can, rather than guess. But in most cases, it's to do with communication, collaboration, levels of conflict, or a deficit of trust. And then having a charter for the team. A charter means how are we going to communicate with each other? What will our response patterns be, etc. We've seen incredible momentum once the team agrees as a team on these action goals for their team. So those are just a couple of initial thoughts. I hope that helps.
I think it does. Thank you. Okay, next question, Jeff. And you can phone a friend if you like for this particular answer. But let's see it. Let me pose the question first. How effective in specific terms is your UVC light?
Thank you for that question, and that's one that we're testing. And the way we're looking at the test models right now are for office spaces with ceiling heights between 9 and 11 feet. So if you, for example, have a car showroom with a 20-foot ceiling, the way that we're currently looking at releasing the product, it's not going to have the same effect. So we are looking at office spaces with ceiling heights between 9 and 11 feet, and we're showing really, really amazing results within about 30 minutes of timed exposure with our UVC light, and 99.9% we have what we've paid for and acquired a testing device. And these are things are happening pretty fast right now, but obviously we want to get all the information we can. The papers are all out there, the studies are all out there about the effectiveness of UVC light. There have been some stories in the news lately about some markets, resellers on certain online platforms that are saying that they are offering, but it's not the right UV light. It has to be UVC, and that's what we're working with. If anybody wants to supplement my response on the Illumini team, I will turn over the microphone.
Being a friend of yours, Jeff, I will mention that the light that we're actually looking at is 265 nanometers, the wavelength, and it kills 99.9% of viruses and bacteria in the air and on surfaces within 32 minutes. So it was a little 2 minutes more than you originally thought. So
okay,
that was pretty good. 30 minutes was good. Okay, we'll give you the points for that one. Okay, great. That's the end of the question round, folks. Because right now we are going to go into our music section of the presentation. And Jeff, you are going to introduce our performer because you know her well.
I do, and I hope everyone sticks around. We have to get a camera into her home studio in Toronto. So
that's right.
I'm sure Kieran's running the cables right now.
He is. Yeah.
We're good. Dr. Laura, thank you. It's great to meet you. I want to say it again. You jumped into this event, and you've been very supportive. And Meredith has always, many years, we've known each other. There's a few people on the call that have probably attended the odd gathering at your old studio on Wellington Street. And it used to be a classic opportunity to get together and talk about business and just put everything aside and just really say, what are the issues of the day? And I really hope everyone got something out of today's event as well. I'm super excited to see a lot of familiar names in the room today. And I'm going to introduce very, very shortly a performer for you that I met on my community radio show. I'm on every Tuesday morning at 93.1 CKCU FM. You can hear me online at ckcufm.com. And Malaika is in the house. Good afternoon.
Hi guys, I'm so excited to be here. I'm Malaika.
And Malaika, if you don't know Malaika, we'll send out a link. But I've known Malaika now for about 5 years. She started out in Ottawa, and she's now in Toronto. She's just back from pre-COVID competition at The Voice Middle East, where she was joined one of the teams and competed there. Her family went with her on the trip. She's back, and she's dropping a brand new album called A-OK. Right?
Saturday, that's right. I'm so excited. I don't know if you guys will listen to it on Spotify. It's going to be everywhere. Like Spotify, Apple Music, Google Play, literally whatever you use, it's there on Saturday.
And Malaika has a new song out called "Darling." It's a beautiful song. I'll make sure everyone gets a copy of the link somehow. And she worked with Sam, the producer, on that one. But today we have her with us to perform a couple of tunes. And Malaika, how are you doing? Are you ready for this?
I'm fantastic. I'm doing awesome. After the first song, I'm just gonna make sure that I'm going to be like, thumbs up, everything's going okay, and then I'll do the second one. I'm really happy to be here. I think it's awesome what you guys are doing, really. So thank you for having me, Jeff. And, you've been a big supporter of me since the very, very beginning, ever since we met, so I'm happy to get to be here with you.
Happy to help. And you know what? You've got a great message in your music. And so let me stop talking. I'll go mute and take it away. Malaika.
Awesome. Okay, so this first song, it's actually the song that I auditioned with for my blind audition on The Voice. It means personally a lot to me, and I think it's one that's maybe it's got a message for all of us, I think. You're broken down and tired from living life on a merry-go-round, and you can't find your fighter. I see it in you, so we're gonna walk it out. And mountains, we gonna walk it out. And mountains, and I'll rise up, rise like the day. I'll rise up, our eyes unafraid. I'll this isn't quiet, and it feels like it's getting hard to breathe. And I hope you feel like dying, but I promise we'll take the world to its feet and move mountains. I'll rise up, rise like the day. I'll rise up, I'll rise unafraid. I'll rise up, and I'll do it 1,000 times again for you, for you, for you, for you. Hey, all we need is hope, and for that we have each other, and for that we have each other, yeah. We'll rise, oh, we'll rise, we'll rise, and I'll rise up. Rise like the day, I'll rise up. I'll rise unafraid, I'll rise up and do it 1,000 times again. I'll rise up, high like the waves, I'll rise up in spite of the ache. I'll rise up and I'll do it 1,000 times, all for you.
Malika, let me just say what a wonderful song, and you have a new album coming out called A-OK, and it's going to be dropping in just in a couple of days. You write your own songs, you write your own music.
I do.
And that was a beautiful cover of Rise Up, so thank you for that. I was wondering if you have a second song planned and if it might be one of your originals that you could share with us. Maybe
so,
tell us.
Yeah, I do.
And by the way, is your mom there? Can I say hi to your mom? Is she nearby?
My mom? My mom isn't here. She's in Egypt right now.
All right. Well, so she'll see the recording.
I'll tell her you said hi, Jeff.
It's noted. It's recorded. So yeah. What do you have next? And
Sure. Okay. So this is one of the songs off of my album. I haven't released. So "Darling" is the single. This is a different one. I wrote this one about. Well, you'll figure it out. I'll let everyone take their own interpretation. All right. Here we go. It's called "Love Anybody." Ooh, you're killing me slowly, spinning my head round 1,080 degrees. My mind lights a fire when you're standing right next to me. Flies get killed, then I'm lying still, and baby, you're 6 feet over me. It's sight to see, but I know the outside is just the beginning. I could run away, but I know that I'll be back the next day. You fake this reckless, I protest, but say the word and I'll obey. I never paid that to slip away into the night, and I won't be awake to stop you. I've never been afraid to lose somebody who's not you. I'll never love anybody. No one and nothing would do, 'cause I never loved somebody like you. Ooh, yeah, if you ever needed anybody, oh, I'll be right there with you. If you ever needed somebody like me, somebody, your dangerous beauty, taking me away from 0 to infinity. I'd walk through hell for you, be someone else for you. I'll make it so real, you want things inside me. I'm defenseless against this relentless feeling. Hey, please take my white flag, 'cause I want you to haunt me. Pretend that you want me, baby. Pain feels like a hurricane, but in your eye I pray for rain. Heaven that I'm trapped in, but I'm strapped in for the long run. Long as you don't do me, so tell me that you'll be here forever. I'll be fine in a matter of time, a change will turn to feathers. Oh, no one ever loved anybody. Oh, no one and nothing would do, 'cause I never loved somebody like you. If you ever needed anybody, I'll be right there with you. If you ever needed somebody like me, somebody stay with me now. love is all that I know, all that I know. I'll never love anybody, no one and nothing with you, 'cause I never loved somebody like you. Yeah, if you ever needed anybody, oh no, I'll be right there with you. If you ever needed somebody like me, somebody, somebody, somebody.
Malika, thank you so much. And you know, it's we've been trying to do this, encouraging our corporate friends to book an entertainer for your next virtual event. It really it makes it special. It puts it compensates entertainers that have been having a lot of difficulties during the pandemic. They can't tour and perform. You're introducing them to a brand new audience. And Malika, there's the comments. You're going to see the comments that have been coming in. They're really fabulous.
Everyone's being so nice.
And so it's been so special to have you here. I'm glad we were able to make this work. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's really my pleasure. You guys can find me everywhere. Malika Music. It's Malayka everywhere. Yeah.
Yeah, I put a link up, and we'll definitely share the link out. And thank you for being here. You don't have to leave quite yet. Yes, everyone stick around, because Meredith, I don't know what you were doing. I guess I opened the Pandora's box, so to speak. You're muted right now. So why don't you tell me, what is it? You have a photo, and you actually still have, like, it's a printed photo back when they used to take film to the place and get it developed. Yeah, Malika, you're about to see something. Cover your eyes. I don't know. Can we just put Meredith's camera up? Maybe I'll turn my camera off. How do we do that?
It's Jeff.
Anyway,
I am floored.
so my colleague at the time, we chose two themes. We had the Highland theme, and then the fine arts ballet theme. And I was I'm up on the table. Yeah.
Wow.
It's a thing. And Meredith, you think you might want to auction these off, maybe with some money to the food bank? Is this something we might do?
Yeah, absolutely. Happy to do it.
Jeff, my respect for you is already up here, and now it's just like.
Well, hey guys, you know what? And Dr. Laura, I don't know if we've lost her, but she may have had to go. And I just want to say thank you to everyone for being here today. Dr. Laura, any final words from yourself?
No, I just love the performance, Malika. Awesome, and great photos, Meredith. I took off my video so we could make more space for seeing. I wanted to see a closer up of those.
They'll probably find their way somewhere now they're released. They've been now released. Meredith, any final words from yourself? Meredith, from you?
No, just thanks very much for the opportunity, Jeff. I love how the story and the services and the products flow, and how Canadian companies are really pivoting to really support COVID recovery. And Malika, that was beautiful. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Really, my pleasure. And good luck, guys. You guys are awesome. Like
the new album, A-OK.
A-OK, this Saturday.
Yeah, so good luck with that, and thanks for being here. Wayne and Kieran and Alan, everyone behind the scenes and in front of the scenes, thank you so much for supporting the event. So really appreciate it. Thank you to everyone for the questions, and thank you for being here. Yeah, we're all ready to help. We just want to help. We just want to make it safe. We want to make it a good decision, a smart decision, and just get in touch, ask us questions, and hold us accountable. And stay safe, and stay well, and just take care of each other.